Welcome everybody. This is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community call happening every single Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Today is October 24th, and this is the call where we have Microsoft speakers. So typically our speakers are either PMs, cloud advocates, engineering people, and so on from Microsoft side, showing you how their features which they built or being involved on building them are intended to be used and so on. Now, today we have three different call demos available, but we start with a recapping again on a few assets which we have available for you to take advantage. So making sure that also the new people who are joining the first time on these calls will get the benefits out of, okay, that's the link where I can get more information and free tenants and all of that cool stuff. We also covered the latest news in the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform side. We need to update the agenda slide on that. And then also a quick recap on the quick group photo with those people who are willing to enable their video, and we'll share that picture, of course, in the social media. Today we have three cool demos. We start with Wahlin related on making a phone call with Azure Communication Services. And then we follow up with Anshuman Gaur on introduction to Viva Connection multiple dashboard feature. Really, really cool feature, highly requested feature, and not that many people actually know that it's already available, which is super cool. And then we have Mounika Narayanan Waldek talking about bringing your external content to Microsoft 365 with Microsoft Graph connectors. And I know Waldek is going to explain a bit more detail. Why is this important, especially in the future, and what scenarios it will actually enable for you to do. But we'll get all of that a bit later on the presentations. Now, quick recap on the different assets, what we have available for you to take advantage. We have our YouTube channel, the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community YouTube channel, which is breaking 44,000 subscribers. We do publish at least one video every single business day in the channel. Typically, it's actually two. And so a lot of videos getting published from the channel, and they're covering different topics around Microsoft 365 and Power Platform. We have our community discussion board in LinkedIn. We also have a lot of open source assets available in the multiple GitHub organization, but as it might be a bit difficult to find the relevant sample for you, we also have these sample galleries. These are basically abstractions and search UXs for finding the relevant sample for you to get started. So rather than starting from scratch, have a look on if there's something available what community has or Microsoft has already created, and then use that as an inspiration for your particular scenario. There's a lot of URLs to remember. Luckily, there's actually only one, which is akms/community/home. It's really, really easy URL to remember. We do have a lot of community calls, which we execute every single week. So every single week, we typically have at least one community call. So we have the Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time series call, which is the one where you're right now. And then we have the bi-weekly series, which are following up on Thursday at 7 a.m. Pacific time. So that's either Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community call or the Viva Connection SharePoint framework call. So every single week, 8 a.m. Tuesday, 7 a.m. Pacific time on Thursday are those community calls. And then on top of that, we have the Power Platform and Office Setting monthly community calls, which are happening once a month with additional demos. Some of these demos are provided by the community members. Some of them are provided by the Microsoft employees, a bit of it depending on the community call as well. You can find the download links for all of those calls from AKM's community/call, and agendas for the calls are always published roughly a week before at the meetup location. That's a really convenient way to stay up to date on what's coming within upcoming week. So you want to probably register to the meetup. It's completely free, and you will get notified whenever agendas are being published. Really, really convenient service. Now, some of the community call demos are being provided by Microsoft, but we actually welcome you to do a lot of the demos as well. So anybody joining on this call is welcome to do a demo or presentation within these calls as well. Those demos should be about scenarios, samples, or something what you have learned. So not about selling your product, because that's marketing, and that's not what these calls are all about. But we want you to share your learnings as for other people so that they can benefit that as well. And we do have a lot of those community-powered calls and powered demos happening every single week. So thank you, everybody, for volunteering on doing those. We do welcome, as said, anybody from the community to sign up, and we will even help you to get started on those calls and presentation. We will give you presentation guidance as needed if you're willing to do a demo. Now, we also have a lot of other material available for getting started in Microsoft Cloud. So we give you a free Microsoft 365 developer tenant, which will renew automatically every single 90 days, as long as you use it for developer purposes. And there's a lot of material available in the Microsoft Learn for learning Microsoft 365 and Power Platform capabilities. We also have a lot of individual shows available for you to take advantage of following up on what's happening within the Microsoft Cloud. So we have the Microsoft 365 PMP Weekly. We have the Mondays at Microsoft with Caravana and Heather. We have Power Platform Connections and Microsoft 365 Developer Podcast. All of these available, and they have a different sequence when they're publishing new content. Some of them in a weekly basis, some of them more rarely. But there will be always new shows available occasionally. Now, one of the things what I already mentioned is the samples. So we have created one unified location for all of the samples around Microsoft 365 and Power Platform, provided by the Microsoft and community. And this is really the core location where you should be going to find the relevant sample for you. And the URL of that one is akms/community/sample. So pretty easy URL to remember. And you can then use the search or find with a person name or scenario or whatever comes to your mind. You can find a relevant sample for your particular scenario. As you then find the sample, you might be wondering oh my God, this is GitHub. I have no idea what is this. What do I do now? Help me. And that's where David Warner is going to help you by explaining what a Sharing is Caring initiative.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Vesa. Well, friends, if you want to use those samples, you just put in your credit card and sold. No, I'm just kidding. They are absolutely free, and they are contributed by people like you. But how do you do that? Well, our Sharing is Caring initiative is a program that provides hands-on guidance. That also means that we're starting to look at alternative ways to provide that guidance. We've created some videos. We're going to start office hours. So be on the lookout for that over the next few weeks. We're setting that up because we know that not everybody wants to be able to spend the entire time, but they are safe space sessions. So even those office hours and these live sessions where we walk you through hands-on how to accomplish something like submitting a pull request or using GitHub, we don't record them. So you can absolutely feel safe to ask any and all questions. So keep an eye out for ak.ms/sharing is caring. We're making some updates there soon, and we're excited to work with some of you that volunteered to help out. Now, once you have contributed, boy, we are so excited because we have so many new badges coming out. Yay! Thank you, Vesa. We want to recognize you for the work that you're doing. And so these are our badges that are available in the Community Recognition Program, powered by Credly. So they are accredited and official. You can associate them to LinkedIn, your Twitter profile, your resume, your blog, put them everywhere, stick them on the fridge, send them to people in your cards. It's fantastic. This month, Hacktoberfest, more than halfway done, so get your contributions in. Next month starts up the season of giving, so you have opportunities, and we've got even more coming up to help you be recognized for all the great work that you're doing. No cost, we cover the cost. Just make sure you opt in at ak.ms/community/recognition. And if you've been seeing everybody get those cool community badges and yours hasn't come yet, don't worry, we're sending them out in waves over the next few days. So everybody that's contributed will get theirs. Vesa, back to you.
Excellent. Thank you, David. Thank you, LA. There we go. Let's see if I can actually talk even faster than David was talking in the native English, because English is not my native language. Or is it Finglish? Now, let's actually get moving on the following topic. So, of course, we recap what are the events which are available for you to take advantage. Next week, we have Chicago EduCon happening from October 13th to November 3rd. Really good way of catching up with the community. This is a paid event. So if you go there, you register and paid for the participation, but there's a lot of Microsoft presenters, community presenters, MVPs who are presenting there as well. Now, a bit later this year, November 14th to 17th, there's Ignite, Microsoft Ignite happening in Seattle. That's partially, it's a hybrid event, so it's partially happening online, partially in person. If you are in person, you get access on a bit more different set of sessions, but all of the major sessions are always broadcasted, are also broadcasted. English is so hard. Broadcasted in internet or online, so you can follow up on them from anywhere within the world, which is convenient. Next year, in the April 13th to May 1st and 2nd, we also have the Microsoft 365 conference coming up. There's a call for content currently ongoing for this one. So if you are looking into starting your presentations and presenting in conferences, that's a great opportunity for you to do as well. If you'd rather look for attending, it's good to know the date already, and you can go to the m365conf.com to understand the location and all of that. This time, the conference will be organized at Orlando at the Walt Disney World. So you can potentially, for example, do the conference and then have a vacation with your family right after, and whatever comes to your mind or whatever works for you. But it's good to know that's happening in April 2024. There's also a lot of other events happening all around the world, depending on your location, and you might be able to join this quite easily. So there's stuff happening this week, for example, in the Philippines, Barcelona, Spain coming soon, Pune, India, Lisbon, Portugal, and all of that. Some of these are free, some of them are paid, some of them are hybrid, some of them are online. Have a look on more details from communitydays.org. Now, quick recap also the news from Microsoft this week. Not that much news, but always something happening all around the different products and areas. Maybe the primary news this week is the Copilot in Power Apps, which is now generally available. Well, technically not this week, the previous week, but week since news since the last time we were actually here in the Tuesday call. But yeah, Copilot in Power Apps is now generally available, and then a lot of other news as well across the Microsoft Teams and developer platforms and for example, Power Apps as well. So really, really cool stuff getting announced and rolling out to the production. Now, before we actually go to the real stars of the day for the demos, let's do a quick group photo with those who are willing to enable their camera. I will flip us to together mode, and I will move to together mode on that correct screen, which is this one. And we are super clear for now, so I'm not going to put my video on. Yes, SharePoint Monkey is in the house. That's really cool, really cool. I can't remember, was it Ignite in Orlando where we shared, I think it was Ignite, or maybe it was Las Vegas where we shared those SharePoint monkeys. Oh, there's a nice one on the middle as well. That's David, you changed. We have 50 seats in the room. I'm not yet recording. Let's wait for a while. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I will put the recording on. We have 50 seats in the room. Let's do some hand waving, everybody. Thank you for joining. Awesome to have you in a call. Awesome to have the community members here. And we are not super pixelated today. This is really, really cool. Excellent. A lot of familiar faces there. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And few mesh people as well. Excellent. We'll grab a GIF animation out of that. Good, good, good. And then it is time to go to the actual stars of the day. So we'll start with Dan Wahlin, and then we move to Anshuman. And then as the last, but definitely not the least, we'll go with Mounika and Waldek Mastykarz on the Microsoft Graph connectors. But I think Dan is on the call. Unless I'm completely mistaken. There he is.
I am. So it's good to be back, folks. It feels like I was just here last week because I guess I was. Vesa has not gotten rid of me yet. I'll try harder this one. But we're going to continue this series on taking your line of business apps to the next level. And specifically, we're going to go down the Azure Communication Services road that was started in the previous session. Now, if you're new to these sessions, they're all recorded. I'm going to review really quickly what we've covered up to this point and what's coming. But let's dive right in here. So first off, in this session, as was mentioned, we're going to focus again on Azure Communication Services. And this is the second kind of major pillar in this demo app that you can do. So the first one is actually AI, and we've already been through around 5 sessions or so on different Azure OpenAI features that you can add. Now we've moved on to the second pillar of taking your business app to the next level, and that is some business apps, not all, but some, could certainly benefit from adding some communication features. I gave an example when I first started this session, but I'm going to review really quickly that story. So I think it was about February of this year, we had an air conditioning unit go out, and I live in the desert where it gets really hot in the summer. Luckily, it was still, early kind of spring or late winter. But we called the air conditioning company. They came, and I noticed that as they were up in my attic looking at the unit up there, they were on their tablet. I don't know what it was, but some type of a tablet. And so the guy's up there in a pretty small space, and he has his tablet. He's punching in some things for parts, and then he has to call. So he also gets on his phone. And keep in mind, this is not a real safe area to have both hands tied up because there's not a lot of space. So it really emphasized the point of some apps could really benefit from certain communication features. Now, there's going to be a lot of line of business apps you have where you don't need to make like a phone call or send an SMS message or email or something like that. But there's others where this could be super, super valuable. One more story on that. It's the electrical company for where I live. I'm in Arizona in the United States. And they have a lot of remote reps that go out to the different electrical lines. And they also maintain water canals and things like that. And it's kind of the same story there. You could certainly use your phone to just call, but if you're already in the app, why not make it easy? That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, after this, the next pillar we're going to talk about is going to get us back to organizational data, and we'll have about 4 sessions after that, but today's going to be about ACS. So if you haven't heard of Azure Communication Services, in our last session, I introduced it, but I'm going to just review really quickly because I know you maybe can't make every single session, but definitely check out the recording if you have some time. You can go to this link here to get more info, but if you just go to learn.microsoft.com, you can learn about what this is. And in a nutshell, what it allows you to do is add things like audio video calling into your apps, phone calling, SMS message sending or receiving even. You can also send email messages, and there's even more. You can do full-on telephony and lots of fun stuff there. So to kind of give you an idea of what we're going to talk about code-wise today, everything that we've been covering, if you're new to this, is in this tutorial, and I'll have a link for you and even a scan code at the end of this session. But we're now on this one right here, making a phone call. And so I'm going to walk through the key features that you would find in this tutorial. If you want to go through it, you don't have to really even listen to me. You could just do this. If you're one of those people in school, you didn't like listening to the lecture, you just wanted the book, here you go. Here's the book. Now, let me show you the demo of this really quickly. So the app itself is a real simple line of business app, just has a data grid, and you can do a few different things with AI, organizational data, and then, of course, communication features. So if I go into contact customer here, I can call, and I demoed this last week in case those of you who were here saw it, but for those that haven't, what I'm going to try to do is call my phone here. Now, you may not be able to see me too well on the camera, but we'll give this a shot. Now, this is not my phone number. I hard-coded it somewhere deep in the code for this demo. But this is going to use Azure Communication Services to hopefully call me. And there we go. So I don't know if you can see it, but it is actually calling. I'm not going to answer because, in fact, let me just hang up. It'll probably go to voicemail. And what'll happen then,
leave your message.
And there we go.
602.
I'm going to hang up before it gives my whole number out, if you could hear that. But now we're able to make this call directly while the user's working in the app. And again, I know not every line of business app needs this. I've worked on a lot over the years, and there's many that, you don't need phone calling. But there's others where this might be really valuable again. So that's kind of the feature we're going to talk about here is what would you do to implement this? Well, first off, you would go to the Azure portal and you would create an Azure Communication Services resource. Now, if I just were to go into the search here and type communication, you'll see communication services right there. It literally takes, 30 to 60 seconds to set this up. It's really quick. Now, there's a little more work after that, though, if you want to do like phone calling. So I want to point out a couple things in this little test Wahlin service that I have here. You're going to notice right here, identities and user access tokens. Now, this is only for development purposes only, but if you wanted to get an access token to try something out for like voice calling, you could go here and generate it and would give you a 24-hour token just for development purposes. And that's actually really cool when you're just starting out with this. But for us, we don't want to do that. We want to do it a little more realistic in this app. So what I'm going to do is if I go to keys, you're going to notice that there's a key and a connection string here. All right. And this is something that when you make the phone call, you're making it from the client side. Well, you don't want to send the connection string down to the client side, right? We want to have that in a backend API that would be ultimately secured. So I'm going to show you that. We're going to have an API that's called. The front end will then get the information it needs for the token. Then it can make the phone call. And so you'll see where that comes into play in just a moment. Now, in order to do this, we need a phone number. Not only a phone number to call, but we need what are we calling from? So you can set up either a local number or a toll-free number. And so if I go to phone numbers here, I'll just walk you through the basics. In this particular resource, I don't have one set up. I'm using a different one. But once this loads, there we go. You'll notice I can activate a trial phone number or purchase phone number. So I think local numbers are like $1 a month and toll-free ones are $2 a month. So if I click on Get here, I can select my country or region. So pick what is supported here. And is it an application making the call or sending SMS? In my case, it is. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. But you'll notice you can also use this for a person that might be making the call. And then again, you can do local. I'm going to do the toll-free option. And now you're going to pick, what do you want to do? Are you just making outbound calls? Are you receiving calls? You can literally set up call center type of functionality with this, fully supported. So I'm just going to make calls in this case, we're going to assume. I'm not actually going to make a number here because it does take a little bit. And then what do I want to do? Send and receive SMS. Maybe I don't want any of that. Maybe I want to send SMS. Well, next week, we're going to talk about SMS and email. But for now, I'm just going to select send and receive SMS. So the next thing you're going to do is, because I selected toll-free, which again is about $2 a month, you could pick from a prefix. I'll just pick one here. And then search. And what it'll do is it'll kind of reserve the number it gives you for a short period of time. I think it's 15 minutes or so. And then you can go ahead and buy that if you'd like. And then that's your number. Now, I already have a number. I don't need this one. But you would simply go to next summary, and then you would be in business here. And that's all you would do. So very, very easy to get a phone number set up. And then once you have that phone number, we can actually use it in our code along with that connection string. So let me show you how we can actually implement something just like this. Now, this was custom UI. Obviously, it's not super fancy. I put a little dialer. But the actual calling part that we're going to do right now, let me show you the code for that. All right, so jumping on in, the first thing we need to look at is, remember that connection string I showed you? Well, we need a way to get to that. Now, in this case, I'm loading it from an environment variable. If you're using like Key Vault, you could certainly do that as well. I'm kind of keeping it simple. We're just going to load it from an environment variable that's exposed to this API. Now, you'll notice up top here a couple packages. Azure Communication Identity, and then here's one for email and SMS. We'll look at that next week, actually. But for ours, we just need the identity. And so you'll notice that I have this create ACS token API. And this is just a standard RESTful type of API that can be called. And all it's going to do is return a user ID and a token. Now, we need that in order for ACS to be able to make the phone call in this case. And you'd use it for other things like audio video calling and others. So what I'm going to do is take this communication identity. I'm going to feed it that connection string I just showed you in the portal. And keep in mind, this is all on the server side, though. And then we're going to use that to create the user. And then once we have that, we're going to also create a voice over IP. That's the VoIP, voice over IP token that could then be used so that we can make this call from the client side. All right, so now we're going to send that data back, and that's the API. That's it. It's a really, really simple API. Of course, this doesn't make the phone call. It's just going to give us the user ID and the token so that we can make the phone call. All right, so that's kind of the first part of this is, how do you expose the connection string in this case without actually the client side, say it's React or Angular or something like that, knowing about that connection string? And that's what we're going to do here. Now, to make the phone call, so if I go back here, how are we actually, once I hit call and then I hit the call button and even the hang up, once you started, this switches to hang up, how is that actually working? Well, if we go back, it's actually really simple. In fact, I'm going to argue this is one of the more simple things you can do with it. Now, the first thing is this is a tutorial. So I have a bunch of flags because you can go through the AI part of the tutorial and then stop. You could jump right to the ACS part, the communication part, and stop. Or you could go to the organizational data part and just do that. So I have to have some feature flags just to see what's available. What I'm doing is saying, hey, do we have ACS available here? If we do, this is a build time thing, by the way, then we're going to call that service and get that ACS token. And then we're going to use that in this process of creating what's called a call client. Now, if I scroll back up, notice call client is part of Azure Communication Calling. So there's two main packages I'm using here. I have that communication calling, and then I also have the communication common. And keep in mind, while I'm doing TypeScript here, or you could use JavaScript, there's many other language options as well. So even if you had like a desktop app built in .NET and C# or something, you could also do this. It's not limited to just JavaScript in this case. So if we come on down here, let's go back, and right there, you'll notice that I create this call client. All right. And then I need that user token. I also need the credential. So what we do is say, okay, let's make a call client and let's create something called a call agent. Now you're going to see in a moment, the call agent is actually what's going to be used to make that call and then hang up with that call. So the last part I want to show you is right here. Now I hard coded my phone number. Normally it's going to get it from what's ever on that grid. The data grid that I showed you earlier, like the customer number or the company number, something like that. In my case, customer phone number, that's my personal number. I joked last week, I gave a talk on this in front of about 1,000 people. And I called my wife, though, live, and we had a conversation actually during the demo. And I accidentally moused over and showed the number. She was not real happy. Luckily, it was edited out of the video. So... But let that be a lesson to you folks. Don't do that with your wife's number. Not a good look. But anyway, this call agent that you see right here, you see how careful I am to go around this now. We're going to just hit start call. That's it. And then it's going to take what is the phone number we want to call. You'll notice, though, we can pass an array. So you can do multi-type calls. And then what is the alternate caller ID? Well, the from number, that's my 833 or whatever your toll-free number you set up or local number. That's what that number is. All right, so super simple. You need, who you're going to call, not Ghostbusters, but you're going to, and then who's making the call. All right, and then I'm just doing some basic logging. You will get a call ID for that session. And then I'm going to mark that, yes, I'm in call. That's going to switch it to hang up. Now, to end the call, all we do is go back and say, hang up, and then for everyone true, or you can hang up on certain people if you had multiple in a call. And that's it. Like it's literally, I don't know what, 10 lines of code total here to make the call. So to wrap up, you set up the ACS resource, get a toll-free number, write a little bit of code to get the token, and then use this type of code to actually make the call. And that's how you could add that type of functionality into your app. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Vesa, and we'll hit the next cool demo. So thanks for listening, folks. We'll see you next week.
Excellent. Thank you, Dan. Really, really cool stuff. And it is so simple to use that stuff. So awesome stuff. And awesome work by the people who implemented that as well. Now, from a timing perspective, we are exactly on the schedule, which is good. So Anshuman, you're next on the line from a demo perspective. Good work, Dan, on keeping the schedule. This is good.
Awesome. I'm going to keep the camera off so that I can show the presentation and it doesn't warm. Can everyone hear me okay?
Audio is good.
All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Anshuman Gaur. I'm a PM on the Connections team. And today we're going to talk about the multiple connections experiences feature. This has been live for about 3 months now. So Vesa and I talked and felt like, we should go and talk about it with this group. quick recap, Connections, you all know, I don't have to introduce Connections at this point, but it is the home for employee experience across desktop, mobile, and tablet. You can do tools and apps, personalized communications, as well as access to resources for all the employees. And with multiple Connections experiences, we are making that even more richer, flexible, and offering branding and flexibility to set up multiple experiences targeted to multiple employee groups. So you would think about a scenario like a conglomerate with multiple subsidiaries. They want to have different experiences and different branding, even different dashboard content and different resources. They can set it up and they can manage them separately. So these are some top level scenarios that, like I said, would be a good scenario for setting up multiple Connections experiences. So conglomerates and subsidiaries, we talked about that. So we always talk about Yum Brands, having a Taco Bell experience and a KFC experience. Frontline workers is another great example where you have just very different workflows and communication needs where you want to set up a separate experience for frontline workers. And then international entities as well, where different geography has the control over the content or different language. Those are some good examples of clear separation between two experiences, and that's where you would set up a separate experience and audience targeted to that set of people. So what are we offering with this functionality? There are two ways to do this. You can set up an experience with, I'll start with the right-hand side box first. So you can set it up the traditional way, which is that you have a com site, you take that com site URL, and then you set it up as a home site and also create the dashboard and everything on this. So with this, we have actually centralized the management of home site along with Connections experience because it didn't really make a lot of sense to have Connections admin separately from the home site administration. And I'll show you where to do that. We basically brought all that together within the Viva administration and Microsoft 365 Admin Center. And that's the place where you can set up the Connections experience as well as the home site. So going back to the right-hand side box, if you were to start with a intranet or a portal site that you already have and you want to set that up as a home site and connection setup, you would choose that option. And that basically will give you the home site on the web. It will also give you the Connections experience on the desktop, tablet, and mobile. We've also created the second option, which is much easier for customers who do not have SharePoint or they don't have a site ready to go and be set up as a home site. They can now set up a standalone Connections experience. So this one is still has a com site behind it, but it's a special purpose com site that is purpose built for hosting the Connections experience. You don't need to create the site first. You don't need to set up the intranet and then come to this experience. You can straight away come to experience and create this experience, and then that will behind the scenes create the site and out of the box dashboard. And then you can basically configure that experience as well. You can do a mix and match as well. So if you have scenarios where you have a set of workers, especially the frontline workers who are only going to access mobile and tablet, and they just want the dashboard and resources, and you don't really need to put a lot of effort in setting up the whole site, you can use the left-hand side option, which is standalone, and give them straight away access to Connections through mobile. And along with that, let's say you also have some information workers who want to access the site and all the content, rich content from the site as well. On the web, you can select the second option, and that will give them the access to the site, the content on the site, as well as the Connections dashboard on desktop and mobile. So there is flexibility and there are options available for all those different kind of scenarios. Before we get into demo, just a quick reminder, we put this out there as well. This is Connections first premium feature. So we have one experience that is seeded. It's going to be part of the M365 ENF licenses, and then 2+ will require one of the two licenses. So we have a Viva Suite license, which is basically the all-up suite license for Viva. We also have a relatively newer, I think it was launched around the same time when we launched the Connections, multiple Connections experience. It's called Communications and Communities. and I always trip over on that one. But it's the communications and communities license that gives you access to Connections premium features, Viva Amplify, as well as the Engage premium features. All right, so that's pretty much what I had in terms of the information. Let me try to switch over to the demo. I am logged in as a global IT admin right now, and I'm in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. This is where we have centralized all the Viva administration, and you'll see connections there as well. When I go to Microsoft Viva, I can click on Viva Connection. So this is the brand new functionality. And one thing I want to call out is that you're seeing this assigned admin. So what happens is that by default, global IT admins, as well as the SharePoint tenant admin, will have access to this functionality. So we are really not taking away that function from SharePoint admin. It's just that we're moving the place and centralizing it from a user experience perspective. In a company where the SharePoint admin is still responsible for setting it up, they will still be able to do it from here. When you access this, there are multiple tasks here, and then there is all the documentation and setup information. So around adoption, extensibility, just the connections overview. Overall, this is the specific documentation for how to set up multiple connections experiences. All that information is available. And then there are tasks around how to pin it in Teams, how to enable in Teams. But the one that we will focus on today is create and manage Viva Connections experiences. I'll click on that. This will give me all the available experiences that I have at the moment. So if a customer has a home site, it will automatically show that line item here. And I'll say home site, yes, that basically means that this particular experience is set up on a home site. And then along with this, there is a status column. This is important because this basically means that it is live now. It is when the audiences are accessing the app, they are able to see this experience. The other status here is draft. And the draft status is what happens when we create a new experience. It by default goes into draft status. And that's to make sure that the content owners have the time and the opportunity to basically create all the content before you enable it. And that's when it starts serving to the end users. I'll quickly click on create new. And these are the two options that we just saw on the slides. There's a reminder that 2+ is a premium feature. This only shows up if you don't have the premium service plan, which I don't in this case, and that's why I'm getting this warning here that I need to have the premium service plan. And then I have these options to create the experiences. So I'll choose this one because I want to create, let's say, a frontline specific experience, and I only want that to be available on mobile anyway. So I don't need the full home site functionality. So I select this, and then here I can give it a name. So let's say I want to just call it Contoso Frontline. It does a quick check, gives me a summary, and that's it. Like once this is done, I should be able to see that experience created. So now if I go here, I have this Contoso Frontline experience. As I said, it's in draft mode. Because I just created it and we don't want to start serving it before we get all the content in. And then you also see that home site as no, which basically means that this is the one that is not on the home site based experience, is the standalone one. From here, I also have the option, because I created this for Frontline, I can check all the information here, go to audiences and make sure that I have the right audience for this. By default, when we create something, everything is served to the entire organization, but I can narrow it down. And I can narrow it down by both the groups, which are the M365 security groups, as well as the license type for the frontline workers. This one is going to be fairly straightforward because I just want to create this for the frontline workers. So I will just select this, only frontline workers. And that means that all the users that have the F licenses are the ones that will get served this particular experience. In case I have both selected, it's always going to be an and, which means that if I selected a group, only the people in that group who have the frontline workers license will see that experience. So it's an and condition. And if you select both, yes, I can get into some complex sort of scenarios, but that to make sure that you have the flexibility to set it up the way you want to target it to the right people. All right, I've got the audience set up. I can also quickly check the permissions. This automatically adds the global administrator and me because I'm the one who created this. So all that looks good. At this point, I am ready to go to Teams and I'm ready to start configuring this experience. for that, I can go to Teams here, just refresh this because I had already loaded this. What you're seeing right now is really the first experience that was already there. You see the same Contoso brand home site link here. But now, because I have the second experience, and I'm an editor, I get this option which is specifically for editors. So something to keep in mind that this is not available for the end users, but for editors, I have this option to switch and edit the experience. So I can go to this, select this option, switch, and now this is my out-of-the-box experience. I can hit edit. It's going to give me the starter set of cards. Let's say I want to start with the frontline workers because that's my target audience. I can go into the the edit mode for the dashboard, add any additional cards that I want to do. Let's say for now, to save time, I don't want to do that. Got that. Let's say I also want to just quickly change the branding for this one, just so that I can give it a distinct branding. I can go here, go to the image that I want to upload as my banner image, and my branding is updated on this experience. So at this moment, I have two experiences. I have the one with the home site, one that is only for frontline. I am ready to launch it. I can go back to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, go to this experience, edit status, and enable this. And once I enable this, this will start getting served to all the intended audience. I will also want to make sure that it is ordered correctly, because in this scenario, this one is targeted to everyone, and this one is targeted to only frontline workers. Because this is up on top, this is the one that will start getting served to everyone. And this particular state, actually, this will not get served to anyone because this is a subset. So we have documentation around it and scenarios as to how to make sure that you have the right order. But what I would want to do is to make sure that the one with the a smaller number of audiences are on top, and that way I have the right order of the audience targeting set. And that's pretty much the multiple connections experiences.
Excellent, really, really cool, and great to see that capability available in the Viva Connection. And obviously, we are able to then target individual roles and organizations much more efficiently with Viva Connection experiences. Awesome. Thank you, Anshuman, on that one. Right on schedule. Then let's move into Waldek and Mounika, if I remember correctly. I have the list in here. Yes. I think either one of you will start by sharing the screen.
Cool. My name is Mounika. I'm a product manager on the Graph Connectors team, and with me today, I have Waldek, and we're going to talk a little bit about what Microsoft Graph Connectors are and how you might build your own custom Graph Connector for Enterprise Search and Copilot. Just toggling between the meeting and the PowerPoint. So anyways, yep, like I mentioned, I'll be talking a little bit about what Graph Connectors are, why they're important, how they're useful, and then I'll pass it off to Waldek to show a demo of Graph Connectors in action, and he'll also walk through the components of a Graph Connector and how you might build one. Cool. So organizations today are generating data at a faster rate than ever, and the pandemic has worsened this trend in the last couple of years. Making matters worse, data are often created in silos, making them more difficult to discover and gain insights from. Multiple analysts have estimated that information workers spend anywhere between 20 to 30% of their time just searching for information they need to do their jobs. Additional productivity is lost because people need to duplicate work when they couldn't find the information they were looking for. Modern information workers are often frustrated by this as they're increasingly expected to be able to find the right information quickly across their different applications. So with existing enterprise search solutions like Microsoft Search and the advent of AI chatbots like Microsoft 365 Chat, otherwise known as Copilot, employees across organizations can now inquire on, synthesize, and discover their native Microsoft content. But what if I told you that they can also harness the power of search and AI to glean rich insights from all their data across multiple applications and silos. With the power of Microsoft Graph Connectors, now they can. So what exactly are Microsoft Graph Connectors? A graph connector comprises of a set of 3 simple graph API calls that allow you to index external third-party data into Microsoft Search Index. First, you create a connection by calling the External Connections API. Then you register your schema by calling the Schema API. A schema is a flat list of properties mapped to metadata you want indexed. And lastly, you ingest your items by calling the External Item API. Once indexed, users can easily discover, summarize, and learn about that content by searching for it in Microsoft Search. So this is an example of how Graph Connector content might show up in a search experience. They can also see it recommended to them in Office.com. So as you can see here, this is an example of a box item showing up in the Office.com recommended experience under quick access, or asking for a summary on it in Microsoft's Copilot in Teams. So right now, this is the latest integration we're working on. Graph Connectors is one of the few extensibility solutions for developers to be able to have Copilot reason over external content. Cool. Now I'm going to pass it over to Waldek to show one in action and talk a little bit about how he built it.
Excellent. All right, let me share my screen with you, and please let me know when it's available. 3, 2, 1, coming to a screen near you.
All good.
Is it on? Perfect. All right, so imagine the case, right? You have a meeting with a customer and you need to find a cool sample of what you can build on Microsoft 365. Now, we've just learned, right, that we have nearly 1,700 samples available on the internet, but you need to know where they are. And you need to go to this site and you need to find these things. Now, what if you could ingest all of that into your Microsoft 365 tenant where you already work and find it directly from there? So imagine that you can go here to Microsoft Search and you can say, hey, I need a sample on Teams AI. And there is a sample here about OpenAI embeddings and Redis search. Okay, maybe I need something else. Maybe I need one about ChatGPT. What are the cool things? Well, so there is a sample from Nico about ChatGPT inside SPFX. How cool is that, right? And the cool thing is you can find these things directly from your Microsoft 365 tenant directly where you work. You don't need to go anywhere else. And all of these you can then open up and see on the, let me move this bar to the side because it's in my way and I cannot do anything else. Can I move it up? Can I move it? Where is it? Oh, no, I can't move it. Okay, anyways, right, so let me move this one down then. Okay, cool. So you can open a sample, you can view details from it, run it, but the most important part, you can easily find it here and share it with others in your org. So how all of this works, and everything you see now is available to you. You can run, and I would actually encourage you to run it. It is, again, a sample that we've got available for you in the gallery, available for you to run. Just download it, press F5, and you will be able to experience all of that in your own environment. Anyways, how it works. You've just learned, right, that a connector has a few things, right? It has a connection, it has schema that kind of defines the data that you want to store, and then finally the content that you import, right? So first things first, you create a connection. What is that? Well, it's a call to Microsoft Graph, and it's just one single call when you create a connection. And think of it as this is kind of the contract that you establish between your external store and Microsoft 365 that you will use to ingest the data into Microsoft 365. And you need to include some info such as the ID, name, description, and additional few things if you want to, right? So again, single call, this is one of the 3 Microsoft Graph calls that you need to use. So 1, create the connection. 2, you create schema. So with that, you say, what are the different things that I want to keep track of, right? And these things are important because they will allow you to find things back. Again, that is just another call to Graph. And what do you pass here? Well, if we go here, you can see that for each sample that I track, I want to know its title, description, the authors. I want to have pictures because I want to be able to see who built it. I want to see Joao's picture here or Nico's, right? So I want to be able to see all of that. So these are kind of the properties that we map, right? And then other things like image URL, icon URL, because I want to be in the end able to visit a sample too, right? So basically, these are the data that I want to ingest, import to Microsoft 365, right? So that is call number 2. We created a connection, and then we define the set of properties that we want to track for each sample that we import. Finally, the final step, we have all of that in place. Now it's actually time to import the data from our external store, whatever it is, to Microsoft 365. And that is basically the time for call to Microsoft Graph number 3. So basically, the way it works is that we start with extracting the data from the source. It can be a database, it can be a file share, it can be local file, it can be basically any type of data you want to import to Microsoft 365, right? So that will be different for each connector that you build, because again, like you will be connecting to a data source. The number 2 is you will change the shape of the data that you extract to match the shape of schema that you defined on connections, right? So here on the extract, like again, that code you will write will be different every single time. Let me just remove my cat from my table because it's going to help me. Excuse me for that. Right, so the code you write here is going to be different for every store you connect to, right? And out of that, you will basically get the data in the same shape you get them stored. Then the next step is to pass the data and actually change their shape to map them to schema we define, right? So here you will see exactly the properties that we set, right? The title, description, authors, URLs, and all of that. So that is kind of where we change the shape from the source, right, to the data that want to show eventually in Microsoft 365. And then the final step is to actually push the data to Microsoft 365. So we do that in the load. And here, basically, anything that we do is that, let me see, I collapsed all of that. I think it's here. Yeah, so in here, what we do is we iterate through all the items that we've got. And for each one, we do push item. And what does that do? Well, it calls the Microsoft Graph, right? So that is the call to Microsoft Graph number 3, where we import the item that we extracted from external source and we push it to Microsoft Graph, right? So that is basically it. 3 calls to Microsoft Graph, and you can bring in data from any external source you've got, whether it's a database, a file share, blob storage, table storage, whatever you've got, to Microsoft 365, so that you can really easily find it inside already in the tenant where you work. But the cool thing are also these other experiences where you can find out about new things that you didn't even know about based on the activities around them. So if somebody shares it, if somebody comments on it, if somebody even shares a link, all of that will allow you to find new and relevant things for your work. So with that, I would again encourage you to try the sample on your own environment. And the best way is, again, see it in action, explore its code. It's not that hard. It's something that you can run in minutes. And it's really, really cool to keep in mind as something that you might want to have. Because again, at a point where when we all get AI available to us, we want it to reason over all of the content that we've got, not just only the files that we create in Microsoft 365, right? We want it to be able to reason over everything that we know. We wanted it to know too. Right? And that means also that we need to give it access to all of the data that we got stored in our org. And connectors are exactly the way to do that. So with that, I will give it back to Vesa to close down. And if there's anything, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Excellent. Really, really cool. Awesome sample. Great work, Waldek. I have to say that, by the way, the small thingy which is hovering on top of your screen, I have realized that you are the only one who sees that. So as you're moving the window to below that, it's just like, okay, now it's not visible anymore. Well, actually, we don't see that. It's an interesting thing. So Teams basically shows that only for the presenter. So it's a bit of confusing piece. Anyway, thank you for that one. Really, really cool. Awesome setup. Really, really awesome stuff. And super, super useful in many scenarios. Now, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Anshuman. Thank you, Mounika. Thank you, Waldek. Awesome demos. Quick recap for next week. Right now, we have 2 demos scheduled for next week. We might have a third one. We'll see. But we're going to continue the series with Dan Wahlin related on sending an email and SMS messages with Azure Communication Services in that application, the AI application, what he's been now showing. I think that's episode 8 already in that series. We're going to publish, obviously, the full series as a separate announcement when the series is completed. And then we have the best bidder together solution, Power AI Hack Winner, most likely demoed within a call as well, or it might be another category. We'll get that one sorted out during this week. But that was the hackathon which happened within September for Power Platform AI side, and those winners have been. I think we're about to announce them, and the winners already know that they're winning, but we're looking into announcing them within upcoming days. And then starting from next week, we will do those demoed solutions within the community call as well. Really, really cool stuff. Now, in the meanwhile, you might want to join on the other community calls, or if you have questions or you want to share something or you have challenges, please, one option to use our Discord server. So that is a great way of engaging during the week and of course, during the other days and anytime with other people in the community. We have more than 800 people already within the server, and it's getting more and more active, which is awesome. So thank you, everybody who've been actively involved in the server and helping everybody else within the community. Awesome stuff. You can easily go there by using AKMS Community Discord. Now, we are always looking also feedback related on this community calls. So if you like this, please give us a stars. There is a star rating within this form as well. We're always interested in collecting feedback and input and what you like about the content, what you're seeing within these calls. It helps us to continue doing these calls also in the future. Now, the recording of this call will be available within 24 hours at the Microsoft 365 Power Platform Community YouTube channel. At Community Videos, you will find the channel from there. Subscribe to that channel so you'll know immediately when the recording is available. That's the easiest way to stay up to date on what's happening and what is getting published. As said, the next community call is happening October 31st, the last day of October. We're hitting the November pretty fast, and that's a week from now. We do have the Thursday call coming later this week. If you're interested, join on that one. Check out the agenda from the meetup. That's already published. You can get the invite from AKMS Community and Calls. But that's it for this time. Thank you, everybody, for joining. A really, really awesome discussion once again in the chat. I love those chatting and interactive chat as well, because we can have fun between each other during the calls as well. But thanks, everybody, for joining. See you next time. Cheers. Bye-bye.